Hello friends! Today I want to share with you the best way to have yard sales. I grew up with yard sales. My mother did them all the time and I learned some really good tricks from her. So I wanted to share with you. So I did a yard sale a couple days last week and I made over $2,000 and there's a lot of ones in there. I just can't even hold them all. So I want to give you some tips and share with you what my mother taught me. So I bet first thing these skate, what are they called? Water skis caught your eye. And it's just kind of hard not to have that catch your eye. So one of the very first things my mother taught me is to put your best things front and center. So I had a tricycle tractor that I was selling and these water skis and some bigger items. So I just want to show you some things that would catch eyes that you can put up if you're selling or your friends are selling, or even if you're not selling it, but you're thinking about it. You want to have something right in the center of the sale that as people drive by, they're going to stop and want to ask about so that they get out of the car. Half of the problem getting people there is getting them out of the car to look at things. Once they're out of the car, they probably see something they like and it's great. So this would be a good thing on a table right up front. This is a little tractor. It's heavy. It's a sprinkler and it has these little things and it whirls around. Those is kind of something that's just eye-catching. So I did sell the riding tractor. I'm going to put this off the table. It's super heavy. And this was another thing that I had. I had a red flyer tricycle that I sold right up front on the front corner. And this is a red flyer rocking horse that I had on the back table. So I had a back table and I had these skis with the helmet on them. And then I had the tractor up there at one point. And then I had that up there at one point. And I had some hand crank ice cream makers. So anything that you think would catch somebody's eye, you want to put up eye level in the center. So I had some things up on the front of the curb, but then I had these eye-catching things at the back in the center leaning on a table or on top of the table so that they would catch their eyes. So that's one thing. You want to put it in the local paper. You want to put it on the local yard sale sites. But a lot of my traffic is driven by people who visit secondhand stores or are shopping at Walmart for the day. So I usually do at least a 2-day sale because it takes so much energy to put it out. Just do it one day. You're putting a lot of energy into setup and cleanup. Whereas if you do it over multiple days, my mother used to do it over a couple of weekends. She would just have it out and put tarps over it during the week, and then she would have it on for the weekends. And she always did very well at her yard sales. So multiple days. That way you don't have to spend so much time cleaning up and setting it out. And also, so I'm going to try and put it in a somewhat of an order so that it makes sense. So on the morning of the yard sale, I make some signs the night before, and you want really big ones that are eye-catching with something that's going to catch their eye so that they will notice it. So you want bright orange paper. You can buy bright fluorescent poster paper, but I print out little arrows with the date. So the two main things that people look for when they're driving by, I don't normally stop at yard sales unless I can tell that it's that date and that time. And a lot of times people don't put the date. They're like, today only. Well, how long has that sign been there? So I print out on a bright orange 8x10, 8.5 by 11, sorry. I put the date, so like 9/23, 9/24. And then I put multifamily, or the address is next, and then multifamily, and then arrows. And I print out how many arrows I'll need going straight at the bottom of it, and how many I need turning left, and how many I need turning right. So I drive the route in my head and print out how many arrows I'll need. And then I put up the big poster just outside of Walmart on the light leaving Walmart. And then the best way to do that is if it's a metal sign, you take duct tape and you split it down the center, and then you put one side around the metal on that side and one side around the metal on that side, and then tape it to the top of the sign. And then you do that at the bottom so that if the wind blows, it's got some traction. So you take the tape, split it this way, and then you put around the pole so that it's holding it in the wind, because if it blows it down, you don't get any traffic. Then I put one of the bright orange fluorescent signs below it with an arrow which direction they need to turn to get to the yard sale. So in my case, it's a right turn. So I have a right arrow printed out that direction. And then on the way, I put those same 8.5 by 11s every intersection, light intersection, just on the light pole. And then if there's a power pole that's wooden, I have a staple gun and I staple it. Now, the brighter the tape, even the better, because you've got two clashing colors now and it grabs people's attention. So if you have like bright fluorescent blue tape, you could put the blue with the fluorescent orange, and that grabs people's attention, and then they follow the signs right to your house. So I put them on the corners where you would turn to go to my house, and then straight ahead at the stop signs, and then an angle. So it takes me about an hour to put those signs up in the morning, and then I go clean them up at the end of the yard sale just to be a good citizen. But that right there brings a lot of people. I've had people tell me many times that my yard sale signs are the best they've ever seen, and they came right to my home. But you want to make sure the date is clearly big at the top, and you want to make sure that the address, so that they can put it into their GPS. And so if you live far away from where you're putting up the signs, then you want to have the address very clearly so they can put that in and have the GPS to get to your house. Also, secondhand stores, people who like yard sales or people who go thrifting. So I usually put a big sign at the exit of the thrift store that near my home. And so if there's only one exit, main exit, you can put one up on the sign, stop sign, whatever, light sign leaving. Sometimes the stores will let you put them up in the window. If they'll let you do that, that's awesome, because then the people can just, right then put it in their phone and find directions to your house. So those are the main places that I put it, is large stores near my home and thrift stores, and then the local yard sale sites. Now, the other thing is, if you make it a multifamily, more people are typical to come, because if it's just one home, they don't know how much stuff you have, and so they may not think it's worth it. So I always put multifamily, and I call some of the neighbors and ask them, now, if you're going to do a neighborhood yard sale, you kind of could be shooting yourself in the foot, so to speak, because if they only have a certain amount of money and all your neighbors have sales and their home is way closer to the street than yours, they may not have any money left by the time they get to your home. So I don't typically do neighborhood yard sales. I'll do multifamily, and I'll just talk to a few neighbors so that I can advertise it as a multifamily and get people to the sale. So that's also a really good thing. Printing up the signs and saving them for a future year. So I have a template that has the date and my address, and I usually put in the middle in smaller letters things like, this year we had a Snoopy collection, Pooh, so Snoopy, Pooh, Winnie the Pooh, collectibles, antiques, vintage, so that people will get piqued by what you have for sale. If you have large pieces of furniture, if you have electronics or tools, those are big things that will draw people in. A lot of the men come looking for tools. So whatever your big things are, you want to put those on the sign so that it will draw people in. And then once they're to your home, you want to have the big eye-catching things that will get them out and go, oh, those are cool. She's got some antiques, or she's got something vintage. She's got different things than a normal yard sale. So when you put it on the local yard sale pages, you want to put pictures of your larger, bigger, cuter things. So you want to have pictures that are eye-catching without a lot of distraction. So you want them to focus on the biggest things and the best things. So you can write on them how much they are, or what other items you have, so that the item will catch their attention, and then you can post about some other things that you have once you have drawn their attention into the picture with the bigger things. So with the bigger things, my mother taught me this, and it has worked in the past, is if you have some really cool items. For example, these, a lot of people won't want these, but they think they're cool. But like the little riding tractor and the red flyer bike, those were things that people wanted. Everybody picked them up right at the beginning, and I'm like, oh, those are that much. So then they put them back down. But what my mother taught me was to take bids. So you can have people write down, I mean, with phones now, they can just text you. So I had a lot of people just text me, but you can just say, text me your best bid, and whoever bids the best at the end of the auction, the yard sale, I will call them and they can come pick up the item. And you'd be surprised at how many people will do this. So I do this with especially interesting furniture. Like I had this tower that my mother had gotten from like India or somewhere. It was a furniture display, and it got thinner as it went to the top, but it was really intricately carved. It's on one of my posts on my blog, thesecretisgratitude.com, and type in yard sale and up will come a picture of that item. But instead of just selling it for a certain amount, I said, please make bids, and at the end of the yard sale, I'll call whoever made the highest bid. And this way you can keep the cool item at your yard sale for the entire length of the yard sale, and it will draw more people in. If you sell the best items at the beginning of the yard sale, then people will not want to get out of their car because all the cool items are gone and they don't have anything to draw them in. So by having bids, or telling the person who buys it, if you do have a buyer and you want to sell it to that person, have them leave it there and pick it up at the end of the yard sale so that people will be drawn in by that cool item that you have there at the yard sale. So that was something my mother did, and it does work. People will give you bids, and you probably get higher bids than you normally would get offered because they don't want to be the one to lose the bid. So that is a way to actually make more than you probably would by just selling it. Now, I do this every time I get so much people going on that when they make me an offer or I'll say something. So like the very first thing I pulled out, it was a big wheelbarrow, big, heavy metal wheelbarrow. And I only use it once or twice, and it's just so big for me to try and put anything in and keep it balanced. I use a yard cart instead. So I hauled it out to the front, and my neighbor walks over. He was going to put some stuff in our yard sale. And I said, what do you think on the price on this? And in my head, I was thinking $40 was going to be a steal because I looked them up, and they're pretty expensive, especially for that large size. And he goes, oh, I bought one for my dad once for $25 at a yard sale. And I'm like, okay. And so he goes, I'll buy it from you. So I said, what about 30? And I should have waited, and it would have drawn more people in. I should have said, hey, at the end of the yard sale, if it doesn't sell, I'll sell it to you for 30, but I should have waited. But when you're flustered, you typically give away things that you probably shouldn't give away. So that was one of my points that I was going to make is don't get flustered. Don't let people fluster you when you're feeling a little overwhelmed. Just say, hey, can I get back with you to that? Would you please text me your offer and I'll get back with you when I'm not so stressed. That way you're not giving something away that you could make more for. I mean, he immediately took it home, used it to haul all of his junk over here. And I thought, wow, I just made a mistake. That would have gotten a lot of guys out of the car. So that's just one thing. Don't sell things when you're flustered, because that happens. There's usually some kind of people that come and they just carry that kind of energy with them. And they pressure you when you already have 3 or 4 people around. And a lot of times they'll wait till you have people around and then they'll pressure you in front of them because they think you're not going to say no in front of other people. And that has happened quite a few times over the years where they'll come and they'll pressure you to give them something low, and then they'll be really loud about it, and then people look, and then people are afraid to make an offer to you because you're saying no to that lowball offer from that person. And they do that to manipulate you on purpose. So be aware when somebody's pressuring you and you're feeling pressured, just say, you know what, can you come back in 10 minutes? And then you deal with everybody else that's around, and then you deal with them when there's nobody around. So don't play their game of being manipulated and feeling stressed, because that happens to me. And I have certain people that come every time and they play that game. And I finally have gotten to the point where I have to just say, I need to help somebody else and I'll be back, so that I'm not feeling pressured or manipulated when they're doing it in front of other people, because it does affect the other people. I've had several people go, well, I don't want to make you an offer because you didn't take their offer. And I'm like, well, their offer was ridiculously low and they knew it. They were wanting my best thing for $20. So you have to be aware of those kind of people and don't let yourself be overwhelmed or beat up by that. I use a fanny pack every time. I have this one that has a slot right at the back. It's kind of like one of those travel billfolds that's right in the back seam. And then it has a middle one where I'll keep Sharpies, paper to write notes or prices on it, or write people's names if they ask me to call them about something or look for something. Sometimes I don't have everything out and I'll say, yeah, I have that, but let me text you later. So I'll just put a little note in there. tape if I need to tape something up. So that's where that pocket's for. And then the front pocket I have is change, and I keep all my coins in there. Now, yard selling has changed over the years. Because people want to Venmo now. They don't necessarily, younger people want to Venmo. Older people carry their little bank wad, white little envelopes with their money in it. And then there's a lot of people who will play the game. They'll keep some in one pocket, some in another pocket, some in their chest, some in their back pocket, and they'll say, I only have $3 in my wallet. And I'm like, well, then you can't buy the item, because they'll play that game. A lot of people are used to yard selling, and they'll say, well, I only have 3. If you take 3, then I'll do it. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, I won't take 3. And then they'll post, oh, I forgot I have some here, or I'll go get it out of the car. You know, that's a game that a lot of people will play. So don't give your items away. If it's not a mutual happy, if they're not happy with what the price they're leaving with, and you're not happy with the price you gave it to them, it's not good. I'll have sometimes where I feel beat up and I give it to them just to get them out of my hair, and then I feel resentful towards them. That is not, there's got to be a happy, even exchange when you're doing yard sales, or it's miserable. So if they're trying to get you to give something away that so for example, there was a guy that came, he stacked up all these books that I knew were first editions and valuable, and he just was beating me up, and he kept taking me all over the place and giving me low bids, and other people were there, and I was trying to help him, and I finally just said, you know what, this is my price, don't barter with me, because I had other people I wanted to help, and he wasn't buying anything, he was just moving things and distracting me. And that's their game, is they want to get you kind of flustered. And so I just said, stop. That's how much they are, and you can think about it somewhere else, because he just kept dragging me away from other people to distract me or whatever. I gave one of those books away to a guy for like $1 because he was happy about it and I knew he couldn't afford it. So I would rather give the item away for less than to somebody who will appreciate it than barter and bicker with somebody who's going to make me feel beat up for a more expensive price. So there has to be a good feeling on both sides of it. And I was very happy to give that guy that book because he was going to read it. He was a day laborer kind of guy. And it looked like, I said, do you like that author? And he says, yes, I do. And I said, well, then just give me $1 for it, because it wasn't about making money at that point for me. It was about making someone happy and not being beat up. So you have to have an even exchange. And if you're not feeling that when you're talking to somebody, then just tell them, I'm sorry, it's not for sale. What are they going to do? They walk away and you can sell it to the next person who's actually very happy to get that item. So just be aware, you don't have to sell any item to anybody. It's your item and you can ask them to leave. So in the fanny pack, when I start, I have a certain amount of money because I don't want to add that in and think I made that amount of money. So I start with about $115 in bills. So I'll start out with a 50, 20s, 10, 5s, and 1s, and about $115 worth. In case people come with 100, I want to be able to have change. Then I start with $5 in coins, and it's usually quarters. So years ago, I used to get a lot of coins, 5 cents for this, 10 cents for that. People don't want to do that. They don't carry change. They just want, usually $1 is the starting point, or 2 for $1, just because nobody wants to or carries change anymore. There were a few, I probably made $5 in coins. Not even that much in coins. Most people just, they just throw $1 at me because people don't carry coins. But the younger people will do Venmo. And so make sure you have a Venmo set up or somebody with you that does have Venmo, which is an electronic PayPal way of paying with their phone. So if you don't know what Venmo is, find somebody who does and have them at your yard sale to help you out, because a lot of the younger people just wanted to pay with Venmo. So, okay, so I talked about bids. Let's see. Okay, so the way I set up my yard sale is if you don't have a lot of tables, totes and boxes work great. Banana boxes can be your best friend. So I take banana boxes. You can check this out on my blog, thesecretisgratitude.com, and type in yard sale. So I pull out the tables and I have one right up the front and then I have some up the sides. But most of the items that I have, that's for like glassware and heavy dishes and things like that, or things that are eye-catching and I want people's eye to go right to. So glassware is on tables. Everything else, I take banana boxes and I flip the lid upside down and then I flip the banana box upside down, and everything that was in that box is now placed on top of that box. And I put a piece of cardboard over the top of the banana box because there's a little hole. So the top of the banana box goes upside down. So it's like a little table. The heavy duty bottom of the banana box goes on top of that, placed very carefully on there. And then everything in that box goes on top of the banana box. And I make lines. So there's rows, and I put 2 banana boxes back to back. So here's one banana box, here's another banana box, and they line my driveway all the way down the driveway. And there's stuff on this one facing that direction. And then there's the stuff on this row is facing that direction. So I probably have 30 banana boxes lined up in my driveway there. Then you give yourself a 4-foot space and you do another 2 rows of banana boxes. Now you can get banana boxes sometimes from Walmart. Sometimes the food bank will have extra as they give away food. Or you can just post online. So it doesn't have to be banana boxes. It can be any kind of box. So you can turn big boxes upside down and put the stuff on top of the big box's bottom. But banana boxes are really sturdy, and they're easy to stack, and they're easy to label, and the items are protected inside, and you can carry heavy items. So I typically do, if I have books, I had a lot of first edition books or vintage or religious books because I used to do eBay 20 years ago. So I would run those down the center into, so here's a box and here's a box. Now those ones I don't stack on top of each other. If they're heavy books, they're just lined up, just the bottoms. So the bottoms are all lined up, and people can bend over and dig if they want through those boxes. But if it's like stuffed animals or tools, things like that, those are all on the stacked banana boxes. So I have banana boxes, then space, then 2 sets of banana boxes going down, and then the tables. At night, what I do is I take the tables and I leave a little space between every 3 or 4 banana boxes, and I'll put the tables on top of the banana boxes. So the banana boxes are under the table, and then the table is here over the banana boxes, so that when I put a tarp over it, all the water will roll away from the banana boxes down to the gutter. So I have large visqueen tarps that you can get from construction sites, or you can buy new in the rolls, any kind of large tarp. I try to go for the clear tarp so that if I put it on my grass, it doesn't kill the grass. If you use dark black tarp, it will kill the grass, because if you're going to do it for a few days, the sunlight doesn't come through them. However, if you use the clear tarp, then the sun can get through and it doesn't kill the grass. So I learned that the hard way. Also, you can use upside down totes instead of banana boxes. So if you have a lot of things in totes from a storage unit or something, turn the totes upside down and stick the stuff on the upside down totes. Or if it's like bedding, you can leave it in the tote. That way it doesn't get wet or dirty on the ground, and you don't have to take table space for that. So I usually have large boxes or large totes where I put any big blankets or pillows that I'm selling, something like that, big stuffed animals. But the best way is to lay them out on tarps. So any clothing that you're going to sell, it will not most likely sell if it's just dumped on a tarp, because people don't want to have to dig through the clothing. Unless you're doing it like $5 a bag, then people will take the time to dig. So what I have done that works great is I'll get a thin tarp and I'll stick it out, and then we'll fold the clothes and lay them out on the tarp. If you have trees in your front yard, you can hang them on the trees. We do that. We hang them on all the different trees so it catches people's eyes. And when it's hung up on the trees, they can see the length of the item and how it hangs on the body, kind of thing. Whereas if it's folded up, they have to pick it up, unfold it, and look at it. So as things on the hangers sell, we put more up on the hangers on the trees so that people can see them, because it catches their eye. It's blowing in the wind. It gets them looking at it. We sold so many clothes this time. Last time I had a yard sale, I was alone, and I didn't have any way to fold the clothing because I was so busy helping people. But if you can pay a little kid next door, neighbor kid, to help you $1 an hour to fold those clothes and lay them out, you will definitely make your money back on those clothes if they're folded where people can see them. So this year I had help. So I folded all the jeans and laid them out on a separate tarp, and I charged $5 each for them. And I sold almost every single pair of those jeans and nobody balked at the $5. I had nobody bargain with me for the $5. They were very happy to get those jeans at $5 because they were really nice jeans. Because I have 5 daughters and they grow out of them, don't fit the same sizes. And so, or they just get rid of them, rotate through. So all those jeans sold for $5 each. Normally when it's in a pile, I don't make any money on it. I'm like giving it away at the end of the yard sale. So hang them up, fold them neatly, pay somebody if you have to fold them. And I made more in clothes this yard sale than I have in the last 2 because I had somebody going around and folding them as people would pick them up and kind of toss them back down. So just know that if you're selling clothes, they have to be where people can see them. No, they're not going to take the time to dig because they want to get to the next yard sale. That's how yard sale people work. So just see if you can pay a neighbor kid to come and just fold them. It's worth it. Have them come every hour and just check for 5 minutes and lay them out, and then come back in an hour and just give them $1 each time they come and lay them out. It's worth, you'll make the money back. Make sure that you turn your sprinklers off if you have a sprinkling system, or make sure that your neighbors are aware that you're having a yard sale. And if their sprinklers hit your yard, make sure you don't put anything in that area while their sprinklers are going to be going off. So 2 years ago or so, when I did a yard sale, my neighbor's sprinklers hit the tree where we had clothes hanging, and it was super expensive clothes like leather jackets and stuff, and it was a disaster. So this year, her sprinklers went off early morning before we started the yard sale. So I talked with her to make sure that I wasn't putting things out when they would go off, because that was my problem a couple of years ago. So talk to your neighbors about sprinklers if their sprinklers are coming into your yard and hitting anything in your yard. When you're doing the online yard sale sites and you're notifying people of your yard sale, make sure you clearly state your address. Make sure you clearly state the hours, because people will come early wanting to get the deals before anybody else. And those early birds can really mess up your setting up time. So I just clearly state no early birds. This is the date and time. This is how long we're doing it. And I usually go till dark. If I'm going to do it for 2 days, I'll go till dark, because a lot of people get out of work later and they'll come. I had both this year, last year, and the year before, actually. The 3 last yards I had people there digging in the jewelry with their flashlights at night, sorting through it and getting bags of jewelry to take. So people will come till dark if you state that you're going to do that, but clearly state the hours that you're doing it so that people will know. Because oftentimes I won't, if I get out late and I see a sign for a yard sale, I won't go to the yard sale unless it's stated till 5 p.m. or something, because I don't want to take my time to go over there and find out it's over. So you want to just do that. If there are people, I talked about multiple days. So some people will come right at the beginning of day 1. And if I don't have everything out yet, because I have a lot of stuff, I did eBay 20 years ago, and it all got stored in my garage forever. With kids, I couldn't get to it. And so I have a lot of eBay stuff. It's starting to dwindle down now, but because I just didn't do it for 20 years. It's all vintage, but the things that were selling on eBay 20 years ago are not the things that are selling now. So I had a lot of stuff to just clear out because it wasn't worth posting it online. So when you're putting it online and you want pictures of the things that will bring people to the sale, once they're to the sale, they'll find something that they want. Almost everybody left with something. But you want to put those pictures right up front. So if you're going to list all the pictures of a lot of things on your yard sale, make sure that you put the things first. Pick out the things first that you want right up front on those first few pictures on Facebook yard sale sites, so that people will go, oh, that looks interesting. And then they'll start looking through and find something else in your pictures. So always put the main pictures first, and then always write on them. So like antiques, vintage, collectibles, because people don't read the description at the top oftentimes. I can't tell you how many people wrote me, where's this yard sale? It was right in the description, but they just don't take the time to read the description. So take a picture of back from your yard so that they can see the amount of items that you have. If you go across the street and you take a picture of the entire yard sale, if they think you only got 1 or 2 tables, because they don't know what your yard sale's got, if they see that you have 1 or 2 tables, they're not going to take the time to drive over. If they see that you've got your whole yard with all sorts of stuff in it from you and your neighbors, they go, oh, I had a lot of people comment, oh, this would be a good one. And then they'll tag their friends or their family members saying, let's go to this one. So I know that they liked it because they tagged that their friends in it. And I could see those comments. So go back and take one of the entire yard so that they can see, or the garage or whatever, so that they can see how much stuff you have. Then they think it's worth the time to go and look. So take a full picture, and on that picture, put your address. Take the time to edit it, your picture before you post it, with in big letters your address, so they can see the whole yard, and then they see big letters your address. So that's one way to make sure they know your address and they can see that you have a lot of items, and that will get people to take the time to come to your sale. When people are leaving, I always say, hey, if you see something your friends might like, text them and let them know where I am, so that they'll start thinking, oh, well, so-and-so was looking for that. Or so it puts in their mind, they want to send people to me. So I always welcome people. Welcome to my sale. Is there anything you're looking for? And then they'll see something and they'll go, oh, hey, so-and-so might like this. And I said, hey, why don't you take a picture and text it to them, and then maybe see if they want to come to the sale. So you want to be friendly. You want to welcome them. When they're leaving, say, hey, let your friends know or your family know if you see something you think they might like. So that's awesome. Also, when you are doing a sale, it's good to, and you're posting it on the yard sale sites. Excuse me, I got a runny nose. It's good to put free things or cheap things when you're updating it. So I put a post the night before the yard sale, and then one in the morning saying, hey, we're here, we're open, please come by. Have a blessed day. Then about, noonish, I'll say, hey, we're still here. Got a few things I'm looking to clear out. Here, $1. And I'll put a few things that are probably worth more than $1, but there are things I don't want to take back into my house. They were maybe decor things I bought for my daughters, and they changed their decor, and they're still worth $1 or $5, but I know I don't want to take them back in the house. So at this point, you want to start getting people there because they think your prices are cheaper and you're lowering your prices. So at the first of the sale, I don't lower the price on anything too much, just because I don't want to lose money. So if somebody's interested in something and I'm not really quite ready to lower the price yet, I'll say, why don't you text me the item you're interested in? And at the end of the sale, if it doesn't sell, I will give it to you for that price. And 2 things happen. If they're not really sure about the item, they will say, okay, that's fine. But if they're just trying to weaken you and get you to lower the price, they really want the item, but they're just trying to get a better deal out of you, then when you say that, they go, well, it won't be here at the end of the sale if you sell it for that price. And I'm like, well, exactly. You're asking me to go lower than you know it's worth, and I'm not feeling good about that. So if they know that you're going to say no, they actually will pay the price you're asking for. I've had that happen a lot of times, where they'll say, if I say, you know what, I'm not comfortable with that price just yet because it's the beginning of the sale. Why don't you come back at the end, and if it's still here, you can pay me that for it. Almost every single time they will pay the price I'm asking because they know it's worth it. They just wanted to get a deal. So don't give in. If you feel that your item is worth more and that's valuable, then hold to it and get their name and number, and you can call them at the end of the sale, or they can come back at the end of the sale and get it for the lower price. But for the most part, I wouldn't say don't give it away if it has value and you know it has value. So to get people there, you want to take pictures of those items that you say, hey, just clearing some things out, $1 each, and then take a picture of that pile. So what I did is I had a tarp at the back, and I would, at the back, because you don't want it at the front, you want people to look through the stuff that you want full price for. And then, but when you're putting it on the yard sale site, you want to put that picture up somewhere midday and say, hey, these are some of the things I'm just looking to clear out. They're in great condition, but I'm just asking $1 or $2 each. And then that will get people there with the free tarp. They'll come and they'll go, oh, I wanted that free thing or that cheap thing. So that's a way to get people there too, is by offering free items and putting it on the yard sale site. That got a lot of people over. And in fact, they came after my sale over and over and over. Is this still free? So I'm like, it was gone days ago. So do a countdown and say, looking to get rid of this stuff. I don't want to haul it back in the house. This is how much I'm asking for it, or come make me the best offer. And that will get people there. So we talked about lining things up. At the end of the sales, I typically will call some neighbors or friends if I have clothes left over that are still in good condition. Like last time I didn't sell any clothes just because of the situation. I didn't have time to fold them. I call neighbors that I know that have kids my girls' sizes, and I will say, why don't you allow your kids to come over and pick out what they want? And it's like a free shopping trip for them, and they love it. So my daughter laughed at me. She's like, you're just so typical. You always invite the neighborhood kids over to get clothes. And they left happy with some really cute clothes. Since my daughter's left for college and came home from her mission, she had clothes that she didn't want and hadn't worn in years. And they were still in really great condition. They're still cute, but she just had so many shoes and so many clothes she couldn't take them all to college, and I didn't want to store them, so we decided to get rid of them even though they were in great condition. So the neighbor kids came over, and they were very happy to get those clothes. Also, I offered them to go through the jewelry and take whatever they want for free. And at the end of this sale, I had 2 huge boxes of DVDs, and a lot of them were kids' DVDs my girls were getting rid of. They didn't want to watch anymore. So they took the 2 boxes of DVDs home and went through and took whatever they wanted out. So if you are through with your sale and you know somebody who might be able to use the item, it's better to let them use them and have them for free, that, if they're friends or family, than to just donate them or throw them away. So they were very happy to get them, and they appreciated them, and it was great. Also, it's less for you to haul off or donate or throw away. So I always try and offer it for free. And if you can, and you live in a place where you can just say free stuff and put it on the curb for a day or 2, I guarantee you it will all go. In fact, there was a guy, somebody was moving about 2 blocks away, and they had really nice stuff for free. I just didn't have time to take it, and I didn't really need it. I figured I would leave it for somebody. But when we were putting our signs up for our yard sale, there was a truck there hauling all of it. They were taking everything. So people will take it away for you, and then you don't have to haul it off anywhere. However, there are places that will come pick it up. The Boys and Girls Clubs in lots of states will come pick it up, and they will sell it at their yard sales to make money for there. Also, senior centers. I know our local senior center will, if you donate it, will come pick it up, and they have sales that they have all the time to make money to run the senior center. The Salvation Army, I know our food bank takes local items. They give out free clothing to people when they come in for the food, and so that's a blessing for those people who need it. And I've actually found some fun costume items in there. When I've been over there for board meetings, they'll have a few things out that are so old, I know nobody's going to wear them. And I'll be like, hey, I'll trade you. I'll bring in a load of clothes if you'll let me take these things for costumes, because they're kind of fun. So the food bank, you can check into that. I know I have a stepsister who was in charge of her young women's camp, and they did a yard sale fundraiser for that. So she took all the stuff from my mother's estate and sold it at a yard sale. So if you know of any boys clubs, girls clubs, schools clubs, sports clubs, drama clubs, teams, sports teams, anything like that, they may take the items for you, and then you don't even have to haul them off. They'll haul them off for you. So I made over $2,000 and some change. Usually I would get like 20 checks. I got no checks this time except one. I got 1 check. And the lady was funny. I'm like, I really don't want to take a check, but she's an old lady, and I actually knew her. It was kind of an interesting story. They had moved in, and apparently her granddaughter was really influential in one of my daughter's lives in middle school. And so that we found that connection while we were talking at the yard sale. So that was really fun that there was that connection. My daughter just felt like she was a new grandma. She doesn't have a grandma around, and so it was fun for her to have that lady come and be like a grandma to her. It was kind of fun. So also make sure, so when I have you can't carry that around in your fanny pack, right? So typically when I go in to get a drink and go to the bathroom every few hours, I'll take everything out except about $100 in change. And so I'm not carrying around a lot of money. At one point, a couple of years ago, I had so much money in my fanny pack I hadn't left. I was by myself, that I kept sliding the money in between the fanny pack and my So instead of going in here, it was so full, it was going here. And when I'd walk around, I would be dropping the bigger bills, because the bigger bills, when I have them in my fanny pack, I have it like this, and I have all the bills going the same direction. So I have the ones towards the front, and I have the hundreds towards the back. So I had the bigger bills were tucked in between the fanny pack and my pants, and I was dropping bills, and thank heavens somebody was sweet and said something, and I was able to pick them up. But so I usually typically keep 150, a couple of 20s, some 10s, some 5s, and a few 1s. But you can clearly see there's a lot of money there, and it was very worth it. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Check out my blog, thesecretisgratitude.com, and you'll see that I have pictures of the yard sale posts on there, and detailed pictures, and some of this information. So hopefully that's been helpful. I know it was a long video, but if you take the time to do it right, you can make a lot of money at yard sales. And investigate your items on eBay or Google before you actually have the sale, so you know the value of them, so you're not giving away something that you could have sold for $200 for $5. And that you always feel bad about that afterwards. I've done that several times, and I always regretted doing it that way. So just double check, make sure you know what you're selling and the value of what you're selling. And I hope you do really well. So check out some of my other videos. I have almost 1,000, and my blog post, there's 2,700. So there's plenty of information on there, lots of good stuff. So I hope to see you there. Have a blessed day.